Welcome everyone to our discussion. We're delving into how official recognitions of UAPs are converging with, aspects of Keylontic science. So, there's a lot to unpack here. Absolutely. It's, a fascinating intersection. So, what sticks out to you first about this convergence? Well, the discourse really starts with the gradual shift in governmental acknowledgement of unexplained aerial phenomena. Starting in 2017 with revelations like the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, to the 2020 Navy videos, and then official assessments in 2021, and even congressional hearings in 2023. Right. Those official disclosures really changed the landscape. It's like the door was opened for ancient and alternative perspectives to finally be considered mainstream. Exactly. And then there's the striking parallel with Keylontic science that brings in this whole cosmic narrative. You know, Keylontic science, developed by Ashayana Dean, posits a 15-dimensional universe where matter and consciousness emerge from vibrational patterns. Yeah, quite the leap, right? Absolutely. The idea that our reality is just a condensed version of a broader vibrational cosmos is wild. But, how does this relate to the UAP phenomena? So, think of it this way. Official UAP reports describe objects displaying, impossible physics, like sudden appearances or transmedium travel. That's totally consistent with the idea of interdimensional mechanics from the Keylontic perspective. In a sense, extraterrestrial craft may be leveraging frequencies and energy patterns that our current science struggles to explain. Right, yeah. It's like comparing, an old-school radio frequency experiment to the modern internet. Both working on waves, but, on totally different scales. Exactly. And it's interesting because Keylontic science goes even further by suggesting there's a benevolent guardian alliance out there in these higher dimensions. These entities are thought to be, protectors and teachers for humanity, intervening during critical moments to preserve our evolutionary potential. That guardian alliance concept really makes you wonder if these non-human interactions have been happening long before modern disclosures. Are we talking about ancient astronauts? Yes, indeed. There are parallels drawn with ancient texts, from Egyptian boats of the sky to descriptions in Vedic literature, and even Native American legends of star people. Keylontic science suggests these accounts might actually be historical records of encounters with both benevolent guardians and manipulative intruders. Yeah, I see. But then, don't you think there's a slight risk of, overinterpreting mythological symbols through a modern lens? I mean, isn't it a stretch to map ancient texts directly onto current UAP evidence? That's a fair point. There is a potential for confirmation bias here. Yet, when you look at the timeline, the secret government programs, the actual recovered materials, even whistleblower testimonies from figures like David Grush and Bob Lazar, it seems the evidence is stacking up in a way that might correlate with these ancient narratives. Interesting. I can see that. But wouldn't you say the scientific community still struggles with, rigorous falsifiability when it comes to these claims? That's true. The current challenge is to formulate testable predictions. Keylontic science, with its precise vibrational mechanics, and even concepts like Keylonta, the language of light, offers some frameworks. Researchers are beginning to explore musical geometry and vibrational patterns in quantum physics, which, might open up pathways to test these ideas. So you're saying that, while the theory sounds outlandish, there's, a budding scientific curiosity trying to bridge these concepts with observable phenomena? Exactly. It's a sort of cross-disciplinary dialogue. On one hand, you have the scientific rigor of studying UAPs with new data and analysis protocols. On the other, you have, alternative frameworks that provide a narrative explaining why these phenomena are, so hard to pin down. It's kind of like the difference between seeing in high resolution and low resolution. The new research is offering a higher resolution view, and the Keylontic model might just be the interpretive lens we didn't know we needed. Although, I'd argue we need more concrete evidence to fully adopt that lens. Yeah, I totally agree. We should be cautious. There's a risk in, uncritically accepting any model just because it explains a few anomalies. It's all about balanced evaluation. Both mainstream research and alternative narratives need, rigorous testing and cross-validation.
Right, exactly. Speaking of testing, have you noticed how the framework suggests some technological implications? I mean, technologies like anti-gravity propulsion and zero-point energy generation, these ideas are way beyond our current engineering, right?
Absolutely. The suggestion is that if you can harness vibrational mechanics as described in, Keylontic Science, you could essentially, reframe physics. Think about it. It's akin to learning a secret language that underpins all physical matter. And proponents even argue that some classified projects might already be reverse engineering these ideas from recovered non-human craft.
That's quite a claim.
But here's where I have a challenge. While it's enticing to think about such advanced possibilities, what about the inherent dangers of adopting a model that's not been fully validated? Aren't we risking too much by, blurring the lines between science and speculative metaphysics?
That's a valid critique. There's a real danger in, letting bias or wishful thinking override empirical research. But I think the right approach is to encourage, open inquiry and create international cross-disciplinary protocols. That way, we can evaluate UAPs without dismissing alternative explanations outright, and maybe, just maybe, find a synthesis between them.
Exactly. It also seems like we're seeing a major cultural shift. The media is moving from ridicule to serious investigation, and academic circles are, warming up to these discussions. Yes, the cultural impact is huge. With more mainstream outlets now taking UAPs seriously, plus growing scientific openness, communities are forming around these shared interests. The narrative is, no longer confined to fringe groups. It's reshaping our collective understanding of reality.
Completely.
And that has implications not just for science, but for our own, self-perception as a species. I mean, if we acknowledge these interdimensional interactions, doesn't that also upend a lot of what we think we know about evolution, spirituality, even human potential? Absolutely. It's transformative. The idea that consciousness and matter are interconnected through vibrational energies challenges traditional dualistic notions. It implies that our, individual and collective ascension might be influenced by factors we've barely begun to understand. Kind of like learning that there's a hidden code running behind everything we see. Right, yeah. One part of me finds that incredibly inspiring, while another part remains cautious, wondering how much of this is, intuitive interpretation over rigorous assessment. Sure, it can definitely feel like we're at the crossroads of myth and science, but maybe that's where the real breakthroughs happen, when, rigid boundaries between fields start to blur, allowing for unexpected synthesis. Exactly. And then there are the psychological factors. The input mentions confirmation bias, and even apophenia, our human tendency to find patterns everywhere. This calls for a delicate balance in interpretation, doesn't it? Yes, exactly. Our brains love patterns, which sometimes means we might interpret random noise as significant. But if we're systematic, say by combining controlled studies with these broader cosmological proposals, we might actually arrive at a more nuanced understanding.
Yeah, correct. So, in a nutshell, are we saying that this convergence of UAP disclosure with Keylontic Science is both a challenge and an opportunity for modern science?
Precisely. It pushes us to reconsider old paradigms while carefully applying modern scientific methods. Open inquiry and cross-disciplinary dialogue could lead us to technologies we haven't even dreamed of yet. Like bridging our three-dimensional reality with higher dimensions, and maybe even unlocking aspects of consciousness that have remained hidden. Very exciting, and it seems like there's a global call for coordination here. We're not just talking isolated research anymore. We need, international protocols and collaborative platforms to push this forward. Exactly. International coordination is key. When government agencies, independent researchers, and even alternative science communities start talking to each other, it creates an environment where, truth could actually emerge from the synthesis of diverse
absolutely.
perspectives. I also find it fascinating how the input touches on predictive capacities, like how some of these models predicted outcomes that are now gaining mainstream attention. It's reminiscent of how some early models in physics predicted quantum mechanics before experimental verification. Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's like they prophesied certain phenomena, harmonic relationships, multidimensional timelines, and even the idea of non-human intelligence, all of which are now, bit by bit, being corroborated by mainstream assessments. Given all this, do you think it's possible that, our future research will finally reconcile these seemingly disparate narratives into one coherent understanding of the cosmos? I think so. The challenge will be maintaining a rigorous, balanced evaluation while being open to unconventional ideas. It's an exciting time, an inflection point that pushes us to blend ancient wisdom with modern science. It's like, piecing together a vast cosmic puzzle where every piece, however obscure, might eventually have its place.
Absolutely, I agree.
Well, it seems we've got a lot to look forward to in this area, and it's definitely a topic worth keeping an eye on. Thanks for this invigorating discussion. Definitely food for thought.